Hello and welcome. NXT Great American Bash Night 2 and a new NXT champion. The first ever double NXT and North American champion, Keith Lee. Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and this is the LOP Radio NXT recap, or the NXT review, or the NXT Great American Bash review. Yeah, I should have checked for the bloody code of the thing. And we are live here on YouTube, and this will also be available in podcast form later on. Links are in the description, or head over to WrestlingHeadlines.net for all your latest wrestling news, and of course the post with both this YouTube feed and the podcast there as well, so you can look at all that. Also, there's been a string of columns currently getting a lot of discussion on the main page as well, covering a lot of this more serious matters of recent times, but the columnists have been putting a lot of time and work into trying to figure out the words for that, so that's all up anyway. But today's main topic conversation, I will just drop a little thing in first. I am absolutely knackered. I don't know if it's visibly seeable. I was looking at myself in the camera just before I went live and just like, oh god, I look like I've eaten something I don't like the taste of. Just like, just sitting there in a weird zen of just, I'm so tired. So if I muck up my lines or whatever, then like that'll be why. If my sentences don't make sense, I'm giving it a go. I am so tired. It's incredible that it's all working. Let me just check the audio is definitely working for you. Yeah, so I mucked up the audio on the Raw review because my mic died just before I came live. So luckily, if you listen to the Raw review and the audio was off, that's because my laptop, the inbuilt microphone, caught it because my actual microphone died, and I had no idea until I was doing the podcast version later. I was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, I'm really lucky. Really lucky there's any show at all. Today I've triple checked and everything, so it should be fine. So anyway, Keith Lee is your new NXT champion after winning the main event title for title match. He's also still your North American champion, so he's the first ever double champion in NXT. And I really wanted them to, when he became champion, I wanted it to feel momentous. And obviously without a crowd, it doesn't really feel the same. But the way that they did this, and the way it was sold, and because for me the faux crowd don't really do anything for me, because they're essentially robots doing the chant noise when they're told to, when you press the button. So that's not really, for me, I kind of struggle to take much value from their noise. It helps, it's 100% better than no noise, but still, I wanted them to make it feel special, and that's really difficult to do without the crowd there, and I personally feel like they did it. And winning both titles makes it feel big. The way Keith Lee sold it made it feel like really important to him as well. We just see that emotion all over him. It's just like, oh yes, it was such a feel-good way to end the show. You can't help but feel so happy for Keith Lee. You just bask in the double champion's glory. But like for the match itself, it got the serious presentation, which I really like in NXT, where they got the backstage walks and all, like the full presentation game. The lights dimmed down when the announcer does the introductions for them both, and I really, really like that, especially the crowd with that ooh kind of atmosphere. Like even the faux crowd, you got that atmosphere. It did pretty well, and yeah, it felt important. And I've not been able to. I won't be able to do comparisons to Fyter Fest because I've just not had the time. There's a reason I'm knackered, and yeah. So I've not had the time. I can't really compare. I've not watched Fyter Fest Night 2 yet. But it's going to be difficult for me to enjoy any match as much as I enjoyed this one. This is the kind of like NXT kind of TV main event, especially, that I just really enjoyed. Like the kind of match I could have happily had take up the entirety of back when NXT was 1 hour. Like I would have been perfectly fine for a match like this to take up the entire show. Give it the whole presentation shenanigans, like where you sort of filter out the show. You start the show with that, then you have them walking out and stuff, and oh, yeah, I really, really enjoyed what they did here. And the match itself, again, a really enjoyable main event. I felt like it was a good clash of styles, especially as I was so critical of Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano earlier this year, where I really didn't like that at all. And maybe that's because like Adam Cole and Gargano kind of like that kicking it on multiple finishes, crazy kind of building of a match, and having them both there maybe was a bit much. But with Adam Cole, Keith Lee there, two very different styles. Yes, you still get a lot of finisher kickouts, but I mean, it felt a lot more different. It felt different because I can full on believe that Keith Lee is as much as a power beast that he could kick out. Compared to what we saw with Gargano versus Cole, it didn't feel like the kickouts were earned. Here, every kickout felt like it should have been a kickout, and when finally when Adam Cole didn't, was totally earned. And that for me shows like a really well paced match, that they nail every kick out there. It was early on. In the early going, if anything, they were teasing us seeing Lee's insane power, and they were saving that for later, building to it. But the biggest be him taunting a plexiglass pounce before Cole avoided the charge, and Keith Lee just went diving straight through the plexiglass. As the match went on, Cole got caught more and more often, avoiding anything truly devastating, but those hits kept building. So he was missing the big stuff, but Lee was still catching him, and over time, those started to build up. Possibly my favourite being when Keith Lee just I think was going to go for a moonsault, and he just directly to the camera, just I'm going to have to kill him. And this is, I'm pretty certain that's a reference to something. Went over my head, but I know it's a reference to something. But yeah, that is a nice little moment. Well, Adam Cole just wasn't able to keep Keith Lee down, not even to take the big man down with a running knee. Not even able to hit it at first. Instead, he was caught with a mighty sit-down power bomb, or the spirit bomb, I think Keith Lee calls it. And then what I liked after that was Cole went outside for a breather, but when he came back in, it was immediately back into the lion's den. Just immediately pounced inside out, and then it was piled high into the sky. Ronaldo called it a spine buster, but I was just that's just a big high in the sky move. Up you go, Adam. Up you pop. Cole's fight didn't die though. Again, he saw why he was the champion. He was continuing to kick out all of these big strikes, and when all of these hits was taking more and more out of him, he continued to kick out. We saw the fight in him. But bloody hell, was he taking a lot of offense and only getting in the odd kick, especially in the first half. Towards the end, he was able to chop Lee down. He was able to hit the last shot multiple times, but especially when he first hit it, it was nowhere near enough. And the second attempt ended with the Undisputed Era landing hard on his noggin after being turned inside out by a Lee Lariat. Also, Lee Lariat is an amazing 90s jobber gimmick name. Here's Lee Lariat is going to get taken down by... No one talked like that in the 90s. I've gone way too far back. Anyway, the champion's offense kind of became desperate with no wasted motion, going for big move after big move. He nailed the Panama Sunrise, which wasn't enough either. Keith Lee is a powerhouse, but he's so athletic he can sell the Panama Sunrise, which is just just to have that wide array of ability. He's massive, he's charismatic, which you got to see in little sprinkles here. Like I said, with the I need to kill him. Or you got to see little parts of that there. He's more than just a really, really talented wrestler. You got to see a bit more of his character, which now that he's NXT champion, yeah, that's great to see, just to give him a bit more depth. Please don't kill him, Carrion. But I really I like the little developments you saw in this match, because he's had amazing matches, and you got to see a lot more character in the Gargano match. But I felt more like he was fighting off a nefarious villain, whilst this showed a lot more of his kind of the heart side of his character, or his, I guess, more just flat out charisma as well. Anyway, he made Adam Cole look awesome as well. So when Adam Cole was hitting those desperate moves, going for those Panama Sunrisers, he made Adam Cole look good. However, it was never enough for Adam Cole. Even though he was hitting big move after big move, it just wasn't enough. Neither were things that had worked in the past, simply super kicking the man in the head over and over. And as I said, the last shot with an exposed knee didn't work either. Or follow-up Panama Sunrise didn't work either, with Adam Cole getting increasingly more just desperate look on his face. What is it going to take? And he then went for another Panama Sunrise in that final desperation, and it was countered right into a Spirit Bomb, followed up by the Big Bang Catastrophe, and Keith Lee is your new NXT champion. Fantastic main event. It was such a feel-good win for the new champion. They made sure to show us Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux watching on as the confetti rained and pyro was sparking in the background. creating awesome images. Again, if you've not watched the match, highly recommend just going onto Twitter feeds. It'll be all over the WWE YouTube channel as well. It was just, such awesome images, seeing that confetti rain down and just the face on Keith Lee of how much this means to him, with the pyro off in the background as well. I was like, oh yes, it was an awesome visual watching him lift those titles, and he felt like a massive deal as well, like it was a fitting end to Adam Cole's run, because it had been a long run as well. And I guess if you're going to criticise anything really about this, it's the kind of sudden feeling of the whole card being put together. And yes, to me it feels like it's pretty clearly fighting against Fyter Fest. No, I have no issue with that. It's for me, like the "no, we're not in competition" talk isn't for the fans. It's just to kind of, I think I said this last week with James Boyd, where he's like, to me that kind of screams like just PR talk. It's like, oh no, we're not sinking to competing with anybody. No, we're not in any competition. We're a perfectly safe investment. Don't you worry. Like, I don't mind that fight world. Like, in competition, everybody wins. Because before I came on live, Dax Harwood of FDR was tweeting pretty much this. just saw him pretty much just saying that, like, there was 2 really good wrestling shows on last night. Like, if you're picking one and just really strongly never going to watch the other one, like, you're missing out, because both were really good. Again, not watch Fyter Fest, I'll take Dax's word for it. I mean, I'll take my friend's word for it as well. They said it was really good. But still, a fantastic main event that ended on such a grand feeling note. Again, the only criticism, I realised I went on tangent for a reason, the only criticism being, maybe if it's got the proper build all the way to SummerSlam, it could have felt even grander. But it's not necessary, really. It still nailed the point. Like, it's one of the things where I could go, oh yeah, maybe a bit more build and it could have helped it a little bit, but like, the moment didn't need it, really. Like, I was still super invested. I was still happy as hell when Keith Lee won. They got that emotion out of me. It's like, yeah, job done. I don't really need anything else. It's just sometimes a little more so we can add even more to it. But it didn't need it. It's like I think, again, we said this last week. And thank you to James Boyd for coming on last week at like last minute, just suddenly. Just like, would you be able to come on? Like turning up on the first show at like 2 days' notice. Which I was not expecting him to be available. Anyway, but just that point of when we're critiquing NXT, like we are doing, like, the bar is so much higher for quality that it really gets to nitpicking, and little things like that was, I was really invested. They got that pop out of me. I guess if I'm doing like the nitty-bitty critique, then I guess if the story had gone on a little bit longer and built, and it would have been at that takeover kind of feeling event, then maybe I might have got more out of it. But it's a tiny little critique because I didn't need it. I still really enjoyed it. But it was an incredible end to the show. Such a, again, feel-good feeling. And Keith Lee as a champion really intrigues me. What happens next? They also, like, throughout the shows, I felt this was a theme where they were constantly building to the next thing as well. And, I mean, that's happening on AEW as well, as they're building to Fight for the Fallen the next week. NXT were kind of building to what's happening on their show as well. And I really like that, because I know what, if I tune in next week, when I tune in next week to do this show, I know what I'm getting in for. I know I've got Io Shirai versus Tegan Nox, and I'm really looking forward to that. I know what's on the show. And for me, that's a really good thing. And part of building to that future was, at the end, having Karrion Kross from like a behind the something area where he was looking onto the ring. Like, that immediately, as you're in the celebration of the massive achievement that has happened, you're immediately going on to that next thing. And I really, really value that. Again, immediately you know what's next, and it doesn't come out of nowhere. It makes it a bit more different. Like, the normal trope would have just been Karrion Kross comes out next week, there's your feud. But this gives more to it. And of course, there's the assumption he's going for Keith Lee. All we know is Karrion Kross is next, and he's voiced that he was going to go after Adam Cole. The question is, was that because he was NXT champion, or was that because he's going after Adam Cole? You'll have to wait and see. I'm fine with either one. What happens to Keith Lee next? I don't really know. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm really happy about what happened there. Genuinely just good feeling. I really like ending a wrestling show being such a good mood. And NXT did their job this week. Yeah. So now I'm going to go through the card in match order, starting with the street fight and ending a little bit later on. This is the point where I've talked for 15 minutes about one thing. This is where I go a little bit quicker. It's NXT. It's quite nice to have a shorter card, and NXT do a really good job of kind of like pacing and things. So there's not always there are a lot of shorter things that I can blast through pretty quickly, which were, I guess, fine and stuff. SmackDown it's weird. It's interesting because now SmackDown's the same length, and I kind of feel like I would have to spend longer talking about each bit on SmackDown, and I'd call that a negative. Because I feel it would be a lot more critiques kind of in there. Whilst NXT, no. Don't need to critique anything. I just enjoy it for what it is. It's happy to be in that state. And so the show kicks off the second night of the Great American Bash for NXT. The street fight between Mia Yim and Candice LeRae. A fun opening brawl for the show, with Mia Yim attacking LeRae on the ramp. A nice reversal of the norm, with the goodie getting the jump. Yim was throwing weapons galore into the ring to attack Candice with. Chairs, kendo sticks, bin lids, or trash can lids as called in America. Weird that I always find it weird that that's one of the things that's entered the normal wrestling weapons category. It's a bin lid. Why is that the normal thing? And the actual trash can itself, I'm mixing in between different countries with name for the thing. The trash can as well, which obviously got used later. Anyway, Yim also grabbed a table too, with the faux crowd chanting "We want tables," and then she happily obliges. It's just kind of it's not quite the same when it's when they chant "We want tables," and there is a table coming next. It's not quite the same as a live crowd chant. Yeah, it's not quite. I'll leave it. I've already said my piece. It's not quite the same, but it's better than nothing. That's where I stand with that. Anyway, she got that table out, and she was really dictating the manner and pace of the match. She was bossing everything from the moment she attacked Candice LeRae. This was her brawl. That was until she went into the ring post and Candice LeRae started to try and swing momentum back. It turned into more of a arena brawl. I wouldn't say it was straight into Candice's favour, but yeah, a proper arena brawl at that point. They went into a behind the camera area where there was a load of chairs, obviously empty chairs. Maybe remember when they first started these empty arena shows, and they just had a part which was just full of chairs. Just no one in them, and it looked really weird. Well, that's probably where the chairs are gone. There's just one bloke sitting in them. But you needed someone to scarf her and run away. Anyway, so they went into the chair area. Obviously, one of them was launched into them, and there was a little stage thing right next to it as well. Well, a conveniently placed table was next to a wee little stage thing. It's I can see where this is going. And damn right, somebody goes flying off of that thing. Mia Yim drop kicked the Poison Pixie, who went flying pretty much over the table and onto the floor. And it's obviously the fall wasn't quite as cushioned as hoped. It's hello pain. Poor Candice. She did crazy things on the indies. This is nothing. It is nothing Candice LeRae comparison. But still, it's the table's meant to break your fall, Candice. That took us to break, and afterwards we got a momentum kind of shift in a way. The momentum had already swung when we returned. I didn't watch the picture-in-picture thing, as it just doesn't float my boat. So whatever happened in the break, I don't see it. Mia was down in the ring when we returned, as LeRae just kept hitting her with us, just throwing in a sea of chairs, just whacking her with them as well. As the wrestling curse is, you put it up, you go through it, and we've got a massive pile of chairs in the middle by LeRae. She's going to try and put Mia Yim through them, right? And then surely Mia Yim will counter, and then in goes Candice LeRae. That is the wrestling curse. You set it, you go through it. There's a better way of saying that. Anyway, so Yim was... as soon as he did that, Mia Yim then caught momentum and started to bring the hurt. A trash can over LeRae. As I said, it comes back. Then she hits the drop kick. And whilst LeRae was recovering from that, Mia Yim pulled out some bronze knuckles. Again, things we normally see from the heels, but because she's the blatant baddie, it really fits. She's the badass dictating the pace of the brawl, and she continued to do that even when LeRae had a moment of momentum. It's oh yes, I really like that. It's characters who can do a thing like that, which is normally a trope for the other side, but because of their character, it just makes sense and it works. It's I really like that. Yeah, in a surprise, Candice actually kind of won out the table bit though. So Yim was up. Sorry, Candice LeRae was able to avoid the Knuckles kind of attack thing. And then covered Mia Yim in chairs, climbed to the top rope, draped table. But the curse! Yim climbed up to stop her. They brawled on the very wobbly table, which was balancing on the ropes on the corner. Normally it's on like a bit of the turnbuckle, but this time it was just like in front of the turnbuckle, so very wobbly. And in a surprise, Candice won out. And she took Knuckles away and hit a mighty swinging neckbreaker off onto the chairs. The curse is broken! 1, 2, 3, Candice LeRae wins. And I really enjoyed this match. It was like way more of a brawl than I was expecting. Like, even though it was like Great American Bash, and last week kind of set a tone for what to expect, like for some reason I was expecting just a little bit less. And they brought the hurt in this match, as I said, with Mia Yim. And it was way more of a brawl than I was expecting. Way more kind of weapons, and the big spot with the swinging neckbreaker as well. Like, that was like a bigger ending than I was expecting. Like, for some reason I was expecting weapon shots, then you just kind of get a normal finisher for the win. But no, this was like quite a big finish. Really enjoyed it. And Candice LeRae won, and that fed into later where Johnny Gargano and LeRae kind of voiced what they're hoping to do. Really, really enjoyable match. And I may be struggling with Johnny Gargano's character as a heel in a way, but I'm totally in on Candice LeRae's. Like, for me, she's done the Poison Pixie way better than Johnny Gargano's done his whatever his thing is. Like, I'm slowly growing into the Gargano one. Maybe it's because of how strong a babyface he was, mixed in with me being tired of his NXT run. Whilst LeRae, no. That she's benefiting. If you remember when she was in NXT for quite a while, and there was the complaint that she just wasn't being used. Now that's coming back to help her. In that whole period she wasn't being used, we were waiting to see her. We were asking to see her. And that means that now we don't feel tired of her, because we've not seen her as much as we have seen Johnny Gargano. Suddenly it's benefiting at this point. That I am up for more LeRae, especially as the Poison Pixie. I'm buying that gimmick, and Johnny Gargano I'm kind of just bored of in NXT. Like, it feels in the USA era that we've especially with Keith Lee as champion now, we've transitioned from the era prior, where like the really well-regarded era of like Undisputed Era, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. I guess Ricochet was in there as well. Like, it feels like they all should have moved on now, and only Ricochet has. There's rumours of Ciampa, we've not seen him in a little while. But yeah, like Gargano and Undisputed Era as well. Like, it feels like the time in NXT is done. They don't need to be there anymore, and like guys like Keith Lee, like Karrion Kross, they are ready. And it feels like it's time to move on. Personal thing. Candice LeRae, though, perfectly fine with. She could be elevated in the NXT Women's division, because she hasn't really been already. She's been featured, but she's never really hit massive heights. And because it was more sporadic, we're not tired of her. But yeah, still. Yeah, looking forward to it. Adam Cole versus Keith Lee Hype VTR. These video packages I thought were really, really good. They did the normal, high-quality, epic NXT talking heads thing, mixed in with the legends saying who they think is going to win. First off, we got Mark Henry, and later on we got the likes of Shawn Michaels. Drew McIntyre spoke as well. He weighed in. So again, a mini presentation thing that I really liked, and it helped build to the main event to make it feel special. Afterwards, after that finishes playing, Yim and LeRae are still down in the ring. Sell that hurt. Sell the pain. Johnny Gargano, I did, as I was skipping through the picture-in-picture, Johnny Gargano came to carry Candice LeRae out, and then Yim eventually got applauded by the faux crowd to carry her out, I guess, with happy momentum. Yeah. Yeah, it was something to happen on the ad break, I guess. Anyway, second match of the night was Bronson Reed versus Tony Nese. I love me some thick boy Jonah Rock. I will say, I keep forgetting he's called Bronson Reed, and whenever I have to keep looking up his name. Anyway, yeah, thick boy Jonah Rock. A unique match setup, I think it's fair to say. Tony Nese being a dick on the pre-show for no one. I'm going to be calling it. And Reed took umbrage with that. Yeah, so the match itself, that's it. That's the setup. Suddenly they do pre-shows now on for some reason, but I'll let it slide because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make sense, but fine, I guess. A fun little pattern to this match. Nese is in shape, but Bronson's a big boy. Nese is athletic, but Bronson's a big boy. Nese showcases quick wrestling skill, but Vonslun's a big boy. It's like, Tony had his moments, but Reed was just too much power, and in the end he just splashed down with that big splash off the top rope for the win. I call it a more elaborate squash, where because Tony Nese got in quite a bit of offense and got to show off his athleticism, but Bronson be big boy, and he could just completely take him down. So yeah, a fun match. A fun little match. But I say fun little match because I really like Bronson Reed, and I'm humming his theme and bopping to it for like the entire match. Anyway, it's in my head. So banger of the theme. Yes. After that, we got a Mercedes Martinez Vtr play. She debuts tonight on the show, which was fantastic to me to see. I'll get to her obviously I'll talk more about her when it comes to her segment. Robert Stone in an interesting backstage bit. Robert Stone offered Shotzi to join the brand when she was sat there in her little tank backstage. So I guess that means when she comes through the ring. When she comes through the curtain in the tank, that's because she's been driving all of backstage in the tank. That's the kayfabe now. That's what I truly believe after this segment. Killian Dane turns up and clobbers him down, and then Shotzi drives her tank onto his leg as he absolutely screams. So, it's an odd one. The Robert Stone brand, after Chelsea Green left, I thought was a bit then they've turned him into a pure comedy character, and it's one of those things where it's fine as comedy in a way. You don't normally get a lot of comedy wrestlers coming through NXT. So Robert Stone, maybe they realise our truth won't last forever. Like he may be immortal, but he maybe just will decide to retire one day. that's how he'll leave WWE. And like Robert Stone, maybe they're looking for a new comedy manager-y type of person. Yeah, is it interesting? I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it. My feeling afterwards was, okay then, of course, yeah. Of course he drove the tank onto his leg and then he started screaming absolutely crazily. I mean, I still remember his days as Robbie E, and for me, this is so less annoying than that. It's like, that character, it was, the fist pumping, like in the Jersey, at the peak of Jersey Shore, like that kind of character coming through. It's like, that was irritating. But he's always been able to wrestle, but it's a pure comedy gimmick here. It's like, yeah. Anyway, I'll just move on from it because I don't really know what I feel about it. I both think, harmless fun, but do I actually care or not? Do I just go when they happen or not? I mean, the maid Rhea Ripley looked like a star last week, so if that becomes the Aaliyah Robert Stone job, maybe they do become a strong faction and this is them building over time. I doubt it. I feel like this is just going to be pure comedy until Aaliyah finally drops him or something like that. Anyway, next up we got Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Johnny Gargano. Whose house? Johnny's house. Met with who sucks? Johnny sucks. I'll give the faux crowd that. I'll give them that one because that screams something Full Sail totally would do. Just like a really just bog standard kind of word replacement. And it's like, hey, little gag, little jab. In the match, Gargano controlled the early ground and holds, but as soon as he went to increase the pace, Swerve immediately took it back to him, entering the ad break in full control after a Fosbury flop to the outside. And it was a kind of slow building, and once we went to the break, like, and energy's been injected now, so maybe when we come back from the break, you'll see like it properly kick up a bit. As the match went on, Gargano seemed to take Isaiah Scott more seriously, becoming a lot more direct with his offense, less cockily jaunting about as he was in the first half with all those holds. There was a great sequence when Scott went for the house call kick. Gargano avoided and went into the Gargano escape, which was escaped. Round again with counters of counters, and eventually Swerve nailed the house call. It was like just quick, way quicker than I said it. It was like, really, really fluid. Really enjoyed that. But again, it only lasted like 5-10 seconds. But our face was in danger. Where especially after the reverse Rana on the outside, Swerve went for a double stomp. Johnny Gargano had been floored on the outside, so he went for a double stomp, but Johnny rolled out the way, and when Swerve rolled through and got to his feet, Gargano sent him into the ring post, pulled him back, and then hit him with the Rana. Which, for me, that's the type of thing which would have really popped the live crowd. It's fine with the faux crowd, but it's not quite as... the NXT Full Sail crowd go crazy with moves like that, especially on the outside. They would have been like, oh my god, kind of reaction. But after that roll, that was it. Gargano rolled him into the ring and then hit that swings in over the top rope with the DDT for the win, whatever he calls that. And yeah, Swerve had his moments, but this was more just like a little cementing for Gargano. Like, this is his house and whatnot for all that. The promo that they gave later, Gargano and LeRae, kind of feeds a bit more into that this was like a cementing night for the two of them to move on to something grander. Swerve was, I guess, in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, yeah. I don't know. When this match was announced last week, I kind of had mini hopes for it, but when it happened, it was like mid-card, fine. I'm not going to remember it in a week, which is... I'd call it a bit of a shame, but its job was to cement Gargano and kind of lift him to whatever the next thing is. Which, for all we know, could be Balor, and they're both heels, which is quite an interesting dynamic. So, yeah, whatever happens next. Io Shirai's a Tegan Nox promo for next week, aired next. Io being underwater, and they edited the audio so it sounded like she was underwater. And she's in a water tank, and they just filmed her. And for me, it was awesome. And it creates such a unique era, especially the fact that it was contrasting against Tegan Nox having a nice jog in the park. Whereas Io Shirai is this kind of futuristic, evil anime villain dark character thing, the mysterious character. And then Tegan Nox is going for a nice jog in the park and just playing with doggies. I don't think she played with dogs in the video. But it was a really big juxtaposition of just, again, this really interesting character. And I'm Tegan from Wales, and look at me running through the park with my dog. Oh, isn't it lovely? It was a really, really weird contrast that I both enjoyed watching and kind of laughed at. The fact it was so different. Yeah. Anyway, I really rate both wrestlers, and hopefully next week we'll do a really good job of giving Tegan Nox a banger of a match to elevate her just that little bit more, and I guess the rest of the women's division as well, as maybe people are moving on a bit or shifting around. But for next week, really excited for their match. I'm really looking for, again, I don't really care about the ratings, but I reckon, I don't know, I'm looking forward to NXT next week. Again, I need to watch Fighter Fest to see what the Fight for Fallen card is. But again, it looks like we're going to get two bangers of a shows. That's not right still. I can't pluralise at this time of night. Match number 4. Legado del Fantasma versus Jake Maverick and Fabriz. The Fabriz walking out as Western Luchadors. With Western Luchador theme for the lads tonight with golden masks and all. Contrasts a little bit with Drake, who's all serious. Who's going to be going after Escobar. But yeah, this screams a team that can take a loss. That was my immediate thought. As soon as I saw Drake Maverick with Fabriz, just like the kind of clash in kind of look between them. It's like Drake Maverick is trying to be serious, but Fabriz just entered with golden luchador masks and took them off. And it was just like, yeah, like you're not all together in how serious you're taking this. I think it's fair to say. But you got to get over this new group of baddies. And that was like my immediate impression. It was like, yeah, you're going to be putting over Legado del Fantasma, which is a unit I really like, but it's still, going to be getting them over. I will just say it's suddenly started raining pretty hard, and there's scaffolding all around the area of the house that I'm sitting in. So apologies if suddenly the microphone started to pick that up. Hopefully it's not, but yeah. July in the UK, it's like April showers. Like you wouldn't know it's July. It's like early spring. It was cold as well. Before I came live and turned the light on in front of me, I've been wearing a jumper. It's so cold. Anyway, Joaquin Wilde started against Fandango. Again, I can never remember Zema Iron's NXT name. I have to look it up every time. I'm really bad with NXT names. Like, same with Jonah Rock. Like, before I've called it like nerdy wrestling thing, but you remember their pre-WWE name. It's like, yeah, I just really struggle because there's so many names I have to maintain in this head, and I'm really bad at names. So when they keep changing, it takes a little while. Anyway, Fandango got the better of him after all that. Then Breeze got the better of Mendoza, kind of seeing the point of Joaquin Wilde and Mendoza there. Maverick was entirely focused on the verge of being distracted by Escobar, who did a really great job of that leader with a presence. Like the character you build up to seeing. Like you hear him talked about. You see the anger, or you see the emotion on people's faces when they mention him. But you don't see him for a few episodes. Obviously it's wrestling, so you don't see him in the ring until a couple minutes in, but still, it's similar sentiment. Wilde and Mendoza took a lot of offense, but the moment Escobar got in, the momentum completely swung. Seeing his influence in a match just shift it like that, again, makes you feel special, makes you feel really... It gives him a status, like the fact that he can do that. He's that influential, he's that great a wrestler. With Maverick really being the only one on the face side that could get to him, with that caveat of Maverick being a tad too emotional. Like he was too set on getting his own back at Escobar. Escobar was a lot calmer. He was more being able to concentrate on his performance. And Santos Escobar was able to capitalise on that. With Drake climbing up to the top rope for a big move, he was kicked right in the knee and nailed with the Phantom Driver. El Legado de Fantasma were victorious. Yeah, for me this was again, establishing of the baddie group, and they did a really good job. I like the aura that it gave Santos Escobar, and I'm perfectly fine with Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza kind of just being the guys who are really good wrestlers, but they end up taking a lot of the offense. I like the look of the group. I like the feel of them. There's no one like them in NXT. And I think I said last week, I really like how there's just an aura. The aura about them reminds me a bit of Lucha Underground, which was a product I really enjoyed. And their emblem or logo that appears on the Titantron, but yeah, that reminds me of that as well. Obviously, doesn't hurt that Santos Escobar wrestled in Lucha Underground. So I've seen him before. That obviously reminds me. Yeah, I've seen a guy I watched wrestle here. Obviously, that's going to carry over a bit. So it's Killian Cross. Killian Cross. I've put the two together. Killer Cross. Karrion Cross. Killian is not his name. Anyway. After this, we got the Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano interview that I was talking about earlier. They say that they're the best power couple in the entire world, nay, universe. Reminds us of the beef between Gargano and Balor, the man that Johnny holds responsible for him not currently being number one contender for the NXT Championship, and they both kind of make the point of, maybe we have got some things to settle, and then they walk off. So who knows who Candice LeRae is going after, and... we do at least know that maybe it's an interference in the match next week. But Johnny Gargano, is he going for Finn Balor or is he going for the NXT Championship? He walked off having voiced his concerns about both. After that, we got an Imperium VTR, just reminding us that, Imperium, they're a dominant thing. Just keep an eye out for them. Before we get to the next match, I was going to take a quick drink. Sorry, podcast listeners. I do have to hydrate. Match number 5, Santana Garrett versus Mercedes Martinez. There's a reason I drafted Mercedes Martinez so highly in the Laws of Pain fantasy draft. I drafted her as my top female heel to that linchpin to build the division around. And when I saw the promos, I was like, yes, you're going to see why. To everybody who's been following that, and was like, well, you picked Mercedes Martinez pretty highly. Like, why? For me, you're going to see why. Hopefully. Like, the way I'm picturing it in my head, the way I've seen her in the Indies before, it's like, yes, hopefully, as this version of Mercedes Martinez, you're going to see why I rate her so highly in that position. This was essentially a squash match for the veteran. But as is the case with NXT and AEW, the opponent got in some offense, but in the end, Martinez was able to take her down pretty easily. In the end, dropping Garrett down hard with the Fisherman Buster for the win. Again, really rate Martinez. Totally down for a heel run for her in NXT. And she will slot in with that incredible lot of talent around the NXT Women's Championship, pretty damn easily. Don't need much build. Really, the only reason to take time building is because there's so much talent that you kind of need to rotate already. Putting her in there, it's you can get him in more organically. Don't need to rush it because there's so much talent there. But it's WWE. I'll maybe voice that a bit more after SummerSlam when we've seen who's actually got called up and who's left before going crazy on that. We then got I've forgotten his NXT name again. Punishment Martinez versus Cameron Grimes promo for next week. Oh, the infamous Archer. The Archer. Why can't I remember his actual name? That is bad. Damian Priest. There we go. Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes is happening next week. Cameron Grimes is a character, I guess for sure, but I've not been able to figure out where in the NXT hierarchy he actually lies. Like, he gets wins over people surprisingly, and then he'll just get jobbed out the next. So it's like, where do you fall? I really don't know. Punishment Martinez, though, they've given him like mini pushes and things. He had a strong showing against Finn Balor at the pay-per-view in your house. So he had a naff promo last week, but this week's with the high editing and I thought his delivery was way better here. It worked so much more. You don't have to. That's the one thing with WWE where my criticism is they seem to try and pigeonhole everybody into a certain style. For me, Punishment Martinez here showed that you don't have to do the backstage interview style with everybody. This style really fit Punishment Martinez. Still stick with that. Like, you don't have to do the same style with everyone. This one really worked for Punishment Martinez. And then after that led us into the main event title match, which I've already talked about. And the awesome moment of Keith Lee as champion in such a heartwarming kind of end to the night for NXT to take us into next week with such a feel-good, happy feeling. And no, we're going into Io Shirai Tegan Nox. So we're in for a treat again next week. Really fun show. Overall, both nights of Great American Bash were really enjoyable. Bits in the middle which made it feel a bit like you're still watching NXT TV. It wasn't a takeover quality thing, and you get that feeling of this was thrown together a bit last minute when you watch the bits in the middle of the show. But again, both nights opened incredibly, both nights ended even better, like incredible highs, and isn't he talking about TV matches of the year kind of stuff, like being up there, and the fact we're getting Fyter Fest on the same night as this stuff, like the winners are us, the wrestling fans, because these are all just so much fun to watch every single week, and I can't wait to do it again next week. It's so much fun. It feels so good to talk happily about wrestling. So after like months, if not years, complaining about main roster WWE, it's just so nice to do something like this. Anyway, that is the end of this NXT review. It was, again, really enjoyable show. And we've got set for the future with whatever Karrion Kross is going to do. And there's there's talks of SummerSlam call-ups, especially as there's the rumours going about of Randy Orton wanting to do something against an NXT star. But there were also counter rumours that we might actually be forced to do something as the top heel on Raw going against the top champion on Raw in Drew McIntyre, which would delay things a bit. I mean, he could just do what he wanted after SummerSlam to go towards Survivor Series. But still, the future looks great for NXT. Really looking forward to it. In terms of coverage here on Laws of Pain, last night we had our AEW post-show in Dynamite After Dark with Jamin and Jeff, which went out. Fridays on the podcast feed, we've got the special of the WWF, the Legacy Series, an unabridged look back over the history of the now WWE, with the journey of the WWF all the way from the start to 2003, I think it was when they changed their name, or 2002. I cannot recommend that show enough. On Sunday, I will be live after Dominion for New Japan. So I'm not going to be live after the New Japan Cup, but I will be live after Dominion. I might be joined by Jeff from Kingdom of Honor / Dynamite After Dark, but that's not confirmed yet. But at least I will be live immediately after the New Japan Dominion show on Sunday. For me, that's not mental. I'm English. That's lunchtime. Lunchtime, a cup of tea, a delightful glass of orange juice as the sun shines through the window. It's just, I'd have the door open if there weren't so many birds tweeting. It would become annoying, trust me. I've done a live show before after a pay-per-view at like 4 a.m. and the birds are already tweeting and you can hear it on the audio. Like, it happens. So that'll be happening on Sunday. Tuesdays, we've now got the double whammy of Kingdom of Honor, which is currently properly covering the New Japan Cup. I think they'll talk about Dominion as well, especially as Jammer's not able to do the Aftershock for Dominion. But also on Tuesdays is the Raw review here on Laws of Pain, which just be me covering things, sometimes with a guest. Also next week, there will be the NXT review at a much earlier time, given the location of the guest that I've got going on. But if you tune in at midnight, at the same time here, at 7 EST, it will already be up, so you can just watch it then. Won't be live, but you'll be able to watch it. Also, an Extreme Rules preview should be going up as well. That will be next week. I got through everything. So follow me on Twitter at the damn Implicat. It's been on the screen the entire time. Follow Wrestling Headlines / Laws of Pain at Laws of Pain. I think that's the Twitter handle to get all of the latest wrestling news and whatnot. Read all the columns that have gone up. There's been some pretty awesome columns that have gone up on the Laws of Pain site. Clive from the Vicky and Clive show over on the Social Suplex Network has dropped one today. There was a great column talking about a difficult matter by Miley Cyrus, who's currently writing in the Columns Forum. Where if you do want to become a columnist, the Columns Forum on Laws of Pain is I give credit to Tito for coming up with that one. The idea of like an NXT for Laws of Pain, but he came up with it way before NXT. It's just a convenient way to explain it, where essentially instead of trying to call in writers from elsewhere, develop our own. And have a feeder system to have writers from the past are all in there as well, and like names you'll know like Plan, Triple R. I think Miss Fan did a brief spell. I can't quite remember. But yes, the Columns Forum is where I went to learn how to write, to do columns. It's where I met Byrne and ended up starting off with podcasts. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't decide one day to go to the Columns Forum and be like, I'll give writing columns a go. And now I write on the main page for Laws of Pain, and I'm doing these review things. So make of that what you will. Anyway, thank you for listening to this. And bid you adieu is my Raw one. And as I came up with James Boyd last week, my goodbye for the NXT review stream. That'll be that. Goodbye. It doesn't work by myself. I'll make it work over time. That'll be that. Adios.